This is the next step in the sourdough bread making process. I started first with the starter, then we fed a starter, and then we made our dough. And this is the dough after it's risen about 10 to 12 hours. And so that's what we're going to do now. We're going to make this dough into loaves, and then we'll bake those loaves, and I'll show you what the loaves look like. So the first thing I'll do is I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of all-purpose flour. I usually use parchment paper on my table so I don't have to clean anything. I just pick up the four corners and put it all in the trash. And I've been doing this for a while, so I know about what a loaf looks like. But when I started the process, I used some scales. And I first of all would turn my scales on, and I would weigh my pans to see what my pans weighed. And then when I get ready to make my loaf, I like my loaves to be about 1.5 pounds each. And these are just short of 4 by 8 inch 1 pound pans. So since I do about 1.5 pounds, they'll have a nice little rise on them. It'll make a nice loaf of bread. So I'm gonna put my hands in it, and I'm gonna take out what I think is about 1.5 pounds of dough. You're gonna punch your dough down just like that. And it's going to go back into that real small, pretty small ball. And I'm just going to pinch off a piece of that dough that I think looks like about 1.5 pounds. I'll weigh it in a few minutes and we'll see. So then, as I get my hands in the flour and the dough, I'm just going to turn it a few times. There's no need to go ahead and knead and knead and knead. Did you get that? No need to knead. You can simply just fold it over a few times, just like that. And I always want to end with a nice smooth top on my bread. It makes it turn out really pretty and brown. So I'll flour it real nice like that. You want to make sure it's not sticky. And then you want to grease your bread pan. And so I'm going to see what I've got. So I'm going to put that loaf right in there, drop it right in there. And then I'm going to weigh my bread loaf. 1.52, so I did pretty good. That's what I'm aiming for, 1.5 pound loaf. And that is all you have to do. But then you gotta wait 10 to 12 hours again to let it rise, because now the dough has been fermenting, but now you've made your loaf, and this is a plain loaf. You'll want to finish this up with a little bit more olive oil on the top. And remember, I said I'm not using seed oils. When I first learned to make the bread, I used vegetable oil, sometimes canola oil. And the bread, especially with canola oil, would have a peculiar taste. But now that I've switched to olive oil, avocado oil, and butter, especially the butter, the bread has such a creamier, smoother taste, and you don't get the aftertaste from the vegetable oils. So you want to take a little bit of olive oil and drizzle it on your top. And you want to spread that around on your top, just like that. So your loaf is going to look just like that. And then you're going to sit that. I usually put a towel over mine and sit it over on the stove or in a warm place in your house until you're ready to bake it. And there again, it depends on how warm or how cool your kitchen is. If your kitchen is cool or it's the winter months, it might take a full 12 hours. If it's in the summertime and your temperature in your kitchen is staying around 75, it may only take about 8 to 10 hours for your dough. You want your dough to double in size. So you see what it is? So I want to wait until that dough doubles in size. Okay, so I still have dough left. And so next, I'm going to take, again, about 1 pound out. And this is going to be a savory loaf. Take out about 1 pound of the dough. Let's see if I can get it that close again. 1.52, that was pretty good. So I'm going to leave the top part of it wet. I'm not going to roll it into the dough. I'm just going to press it out a little bit. And I probably should have measured out my seasoning before I started, because I'm going to get my containers kind of dirty now. So I'm going to start with a little bit of Mrs. Dash garlic and herb, and I just sprinkle that generously on my bread. Then I'm going to add, and this is just for one loaf. I'll show you in a future video how to season your whole dough. This is going to be a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm going to sprinkle that in. A 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder. Going to sprinkle that in. And it was probably about a 1/4 teaspoon of the Mrs. Dash as well. And then I'm going to be a little bit more generous with an Italian seasoning. You can make your own Italian seasoning. I use a store-bought just because it's easier. But when I get in a pinch, I can make my own using oregano and thyme. And I'm going to put about a full teaspoon of Greek or Mediterranean seasonings. I'm going to sprinkle that on the bread generously. And that's basically all I'm going to put on. I'm going to take the dough and just start folding it over. So you just want to turn your spices in. There again, there's no need to knead this sourdough a lot of times. I kneaded a few times just to get all those spices mixed in really nice to the bread. And there's also something about making bread. It just feels good. So I want to tell you, this is going to be the savory loaf again, and I want to give you a secret. I use the same bread pan I do it on the plain bread, but right at the very bottom of the pan, I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of the garlic and herb, and then I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of my Italian or Greek seasoning. And since I've oiled my pan, they're going to stick to the bottom just like that. And that gives you a nice bottom on your bread when you bake it and then you turn it out later. So here's our bread. The spices are all inside. We've got a nice little loaf. Look at that. It's going to turn out great. Place it in your pan. I usually use the back of my fingers to kind of flatten it out a little bit. And I'm going to weigh it. And I have about a pound and maybe a pound and a half. A little over a pound and a half. So with this savory loaf, I'm going to oil the top again, just like I did on the other one. This container, I pour my light olive oil in, and it's got this nice little flap on the top of it. So it helps you control what you're pouring out. You're not using your whole bottle. You can just drizzle just a little bit like that, and it comes out perfect every time. So I'm just going to use my hand. I'm going to smooth that oil out. I have one more trick to finish this savory loaf out. I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of the seasonings on top, just like that. And I'll put a little bit of this one on the top. You can use seasonings of your choice. These flavors blend together. I think it's a mixture of the oregano, sage, and the garlic, but you can see it. And then after we let this sit in my warm kitchen for 10 to 12 hours, I'll come back and I'll show you what a loaf looks like when it's nice and it's raised and it's ready to go in the oven. So when they're doubled in size, we'll be ready to put them in a 350 oven for about 21 minutes is what I like, 21, 22 minutes. And everybody's oven varies, so I can't tell you exactly 21 minutes or exactly 20 minutes. You'll have to test out your oven. I like, some people in my family like theirs lightly browned. I like mine really brown on the top. So just to reiterate, you've got your loaves made and they look really nice. And you want to put that, after it's doubled in size, about 10 hours, you want to put that in a 350 oven for about 20 to 22 minutes. Every oven will vary in size and the heat and the amount of time it takes for you to bake your loaves of bread. And I just want to show you how easy it is. I put the parchment paper down and I fold it over a couple of times. And all my flour and everything is up. And so I have these nice loaves to put out of my oven. And in about 10 hours, they'll be ready to bake. And we'll be spreading these with some nice butter. And I bet you can almost taste what they're going to taste like. Thank you for joining me on my channel. So if you like today's video, please like and subscribe to my channel. And if you want more information about how to get started with a basic sourdough starter using potato flakes, you can go back to our first video. We'll put a link here. And please like and subscribe.